to Onesies, a podcast of one season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name's Emily, and I'm sad. It's the
You're
last episode of
sad.
Dweebs. It's the last episode.
That's what you're sad about in the world right now as we
Yeah,
record on November 10th, 11th, 12th, 14th, 15th. One of those
15.
days. 15th.
15.
Remind
Yeah.
me to pay my bills. Okay. Yes, this is the final episode of Dweebs. We are discussing the Actress show, guest starring Sports Illustrated swimsuit model Vendela, who does manage to give one of the worst performances on this show. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
Making Scolari look okay. In that area, not actually doing it, but in closer to that than.
I noticed in this episode, Scolari's doing a lot of good background acting. You see him in his office through the window of his office doing a lot of like looking around to see what's going on when the action is taking place outside. I noticed that.
Yes, they were about to turn a new page with episode 11, but the plug was pulled on Peter Noah, who I imagine is a fucking hack of just seems like
Epic
a hack.
proportions.
Epic proportions. When we do our crossover with Thought Spiral, friends of the show.
Are they friends?
I mean, we paid them to be friends, one of them, sort of. We paid one of them to be friendly to us. That's his choice.
I would say I would say parasocial at best.
Well, sure, but if we offered one of them a platform to talk smack about Peter Noah, I bet we could do a 7-week episode series. Anyway, we are on the last episode. It is about the boys hiring an actress to play a video game character for yet another one of their atrocious video games. Just absolute trash, this one. Also not as technically advanced as something from 1982, but it is also a return to delving into the working life of a woman in the United States. And we were talking last week about how this is a show from 1995 and it's incredibly progressive compared to the world we live in today. Well, I don't think we're going to be that bearish this time. Bearish? Can't remember. Bullish. I think bullish is when things are going up, and no, bullish sounds like it's a negative. Doesn't matter. Send the answer to Mr. Emily at onesiespod.feet. So the episode begins with them having a meeting. Their first meeting of this sort, which should have been done in the pilot or second episode, because it involves Carrie having to get on the trampoline to sit cross-legged while wearing a mini skirt, telling the boys she feels like it's inappropriate, and her boss ordering her to get up on there while Corey Feldman gets primed for a good view. And
I will say that was creepy and inappropriate, but he is put in his place by Peter Scolari, reminding him of the secretary, the skirt, the courtroom, and the community service he had to do.
So the problem with that is that implies there's a secretary in the garage at some point. So that would be Dweeb season 0. So.
Also, the problem with that is, it seems to me, is that no matter how terrible and inappropriate they are with Carrie, either they were more inappropriate with the secretary, or the secretary was willing to put up with less bullshit. And she's no longer there because she either left her job, maybe got paid a shitload of money, if so, good for her, or got fired for being distracting in the workplace.
I also want everybody to imagine that this was even possible in 1995 in real life, that a woman would sue for sexual harassment and get anything for it other than drummed out of her profession.
In the 90s, weren't there a bunch of like sexual harassment lawsuits in like the military and stuff? I think, Ally McBeal was around, and there was
Later
all
than
sorts
this,
of.
though. That was
Was it?
later than this.
Was it
Also,
97?
as one of my college instructors told me in undergrad, TV is not real life. So
Good point.
when I was like, "What? Are you sure there aren't a lot of female judges? There are on LA Law." And she's just like, "What?" And I was like, "What? LA Law lied to me? How dare you? How dare you suggest that? Never, never would LA Law lie to me." Okay. So, yes, so they have this meeting where Carrie has to sit on the trampoline, trying to not show the boys her.
Vagina.
Yep. I was trying to think if we wanted to just say panties or get into a Basic Instinct reference, but they didn't make one, which was surprising. However, as she's getting off the thing, and this is where we get to see Corey Feldman's ugly face for the first full time, and I was like, put the glasses back on, because apparently he had shaved his eyebrows at this point.
Oh, I didn't notice.
I don't know. You can, isn't that your wallpaper? So yeah,
No.
he takes off his glasses to look up at the ceiling while she does it. It gets off, and then as she does, she spins her legs up just as Todd the toady is coming in, and he gets a full look and says "woohoo" or something like that.
I think he just says hello, and then he says goodbye, and he turns around and walks out very quickly. But yes, it's a reaction. He saw her panties or vagina.
So,
but the meeting is about.
She should be wearing panties at work. I'm just not
yes. But the meeting is about them needing a live actress to film for their shitty video game.
A live action actress, not like they could also use a dead body. That would be more like an episode of Free Spirit and would involve the teenage boy fucking the animated corpse, and it just
with the 8-year-old watching and standing guard.
Oh, Emily, watch such good shows.
Hey, I love Corinne Bohr, though. Give me more Corinne Bohr.
She's wonderful. She's wonderful. But I'm not going to with the announcement of next season, though. Someday she is on the first season of The Flash a couple times. She has a recurring part on the first season of The Flash. So someday, maybe we'll do that. But that's 22 episodes. That's not what we're doing next. Okay.
No.
So yes, but they're going to hire a live action actress. They're like. Carrie's like, well, who do you want? And they're like, well, we don't know any actresses. We don't watch anything.
Which is... It sounds unrealistic. I feel like those guys are the guys who are watching, like, Godfather over and over.
Heat. They all go see Heat. What show actually does have a Godfather reference recently? This is riveting podcasting, folks, as I try to remember. Some show just did a joke about The Godfather where somebody in The Godfather identifies with Fredo.
Yes, it was this show. It was last week's episode.
It was last week's episode. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So see, they do watch
things.
Are.
They do watch things.
Because Corey Feldman
makes... lying to us again.
Because Corey Feldman makes the joke that Morley, whatever his name is the only person in the world who identifies with Fredo. Yeah, that's what it is. Which, again, is a tie-in to IT Crowd. There's a whole episode where Jen becomes the Fredo of the company.
Anyway. I mean, it's not like I bought What's-His-Face's book. I wasn't one of the 14 people. Where I'm sure he writes at length about his inspiration for that.
And about how he needs to pay his bitch ex-wife for leaving him.
Hey, you know what? Considering we all thought that she was behind this, more power to her.
Yeah, no shit.
Okay, so ex-Mrs. What's-Her-Face, set up your GoFundMe for your restraining orders. I mean, even if you don't need one, we'd love to kick in. Send me a badge. Okay, so a little enamel button. Okay. But yes, so Carrie has the assignment of, so she's like, what about Greta Gerwig? She's a big time action star.
Greta Lundquist, what's her name?
We're calling her Greta Gerwig because I want to pretend this is better. Though it wouldn't be better with Greta Gerwig. Not just because she was 7 when this came out. even if she was grown, she would be the wrong person for this part, because this part should probably be played, if it's actual, it should be played by, there weren't, like what, Cynthia Rothrock would have been the only female action star in
Linda Hamilton.
1995. Linda Hamilton. But yeah, so I mean, this is not a genre that existed or sustainably exists, right? Like even today, we do not have a female action star who is popular for their. I mean, that's not why Scarlett Johansson's not popular, because she does limited stunts, like
right.
Okay. Also, the person they get for it is a fucking supermodel who is not believable as an action star. So that's another problem.
Not believable as an action star or as an actress.
Anything.
Yeah.
Well, yes. So Carrie talks, we get a lot of Noreen this episode. So clearly whoever played Noreen was just like, I am a regular on this show. She will be on set later with the full cast, but she will have no interaction with any of the other cast members, including her ex-lover, Peter Scolari.
They never even mention it.
They don't
there was a
shot.
point. There was a point where they were in Carrie's living room, and she was like, "Here's what you need to do: march into Warren's office." And I was like, "Are you going to mention that one, you fucked Warren, and two, what a great lover he was, apparently? Like, are you going to mention that?"
Nope.
No mention.
Do you think, would you watch this show if you were on the writing staff of this show? Do you think they paid you enough? They didn't pay these people enough to watch this show. I don't think they didn't pay Pamela Fryman enough to have her eyes open while directing this show. Like, how do I know that? Because Pamela Fryman doesn't talk about getting paid $75 million in cash for directing a single episode of a sitcom. Okay, so Carrie is all excited because she gets to put this together, and it's the first time she's ever got to do anything at the office except for refilling staples or something.
Yeah.
Which is not accurate. She has forced the boys to be social. She has bailed them out of jail, all sorts of things.
Gone to concerts with them.
Yes. So again, it feels like it should be the second fucking episode. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Noreen then talks about how their value as human beings depends on their comparative attractiveness to the supermodel at length. Talks about how much they hate other women and how maybe they'll vote for abortion access, but then, not for anybody else because they're like white power, gives each other a high five. It's really fucking weird. Really weird. But that is essentially what happens.
Yeah.
We then cut to the office where we have gone from the boys having no idea who Greta Gerwig is to them apparently having seen all of her movies once Carrie mentioned her name.
Yeah.
To the point that Morley... So this is actually the closest... It's not the closest the episode gets to being funny, because there is actually some Tobolowsky that is just like de facto funny. Like, you can't get around it. But Morley comes in talking about how much he hates his mom, and then he takes off his shirt and he is covered in a blood-covered gray sweatshirt. It does not say hot and steamy on it, though if you wanted one that said hot and steamy, you could get that from our Redbubble shop, which is actually a real thing that exists.
We haven't made any more merch since then.
We got to get the onesiespod.feet going, and then I'll get back to it. I have made more merch. I make it about whatever I need to vent about my feelings about a certain demographic of the population that's over 50%.
So you're using our podcast for your own nefarious purposes. Cool.
I mean, technically, I attached our podcast shop to my nefarious purposes. So
okay.
You really care a lot about these things. Usually you always want to see the accounting. So
well, as long as you keep sending me that check every month.
Every month and the invoice goes straight to Mr. Emily at onesiespod.feet. God, I hope .feet's a domain extension because that's happening in the next hour if it is. Okay, so Morley, yeah, but everybody looks at Morley, and the joke is that he just killed his mom and came to work, which
Yeah.
is,
Not
I mean, it would
funny.
it if we'd met the mom at some point, if she'd ever been mentioned before. We're 10 episodes in and we're finally getting some strings of things that could be recurring bits. Because none of the others have lasted this long, right?
Right.
We're 10 up. We did not get the feared Peter Scolari Farrah Fork romance. We did not get the much desired Tobolowsky Farrah Fork romance.
Or the
We
Tobolowsky NASA
yeah,
arc.
Tobolowsky NASA is over too. Like, I mean, that was three or four episodes ago that they last did that. Okay, so the supermodel comes in with Todd, who is just kind of like blah, 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 blah. And everybody's like, Todd, you're acting like an idiot. And he's like, you think I could do it for 5 minutes, see if you can handle it. And then she shakes Stephen Tobolowsky's hand and he won't let go. And then he
Yeah.
starts making noises and stuff. And Vic does things. Morley can't even talk to her. But his bloody sweatshirt is a
Oh, yeah.
promotional item from her movie, which sounds like a slasher movie, not an action movie.
Yeah.
Also not real.
And it's described like a fucking never mind. I can't think of that comedian's name. Gallagher concert.
Yes.
A Gallagher show where
Is
you
he
go
dead?
into the yes.
Okay.
His brother's still alive. Gallagher 2.
That's too bad. But at least we got that one.
So
didn't get much in this world, but we got that.
And folks, if you are under 40 years old, Gallagher was a comedian who had a famous bit where he would hit a watermelon with a mallet and it would go all over. And people in the first 3 or 4 rows always had a tarp over them or some sort of thing. So the joke was that you go to the movie theater and you're given, is it a special pair of glasses and a poncho or something?
Yeah.
And
which sounds like a William Castle thing, which
they spray blood on the audience
happening in 1995.
Is the implication that they're spraying blood on the audience, and that's why the sweatshirt is covered in blood?
Or would be if Morley had gone to see it in the theater, but that's not implied. Yeah,
right.
But yes, that's the implication, and it's stupid.
Gross.
Yeah.
That corn syrup. Can you imagine cleaning up after that? Whatever. I didn't write this dumb show.
So if anybody wants us to write the sequel, we've got 4 seasons of scripts to adapt from the UK. Fuck that guy's copyright. Okay, so I'm shocked he hasn't tried to reboot it.
I don't think anyone will work with him now.
On X, he could reboot it as yeah.
It wouldn't be nearly as good. Because you wouldn't get good actors.
I don't think it would be good at all, but other than that, okay, Emily, it's fine. Awkward moment here. Okay. How's the new season of Frasier? Okay, so moving on.
You're the Frasier fan. Don't give me a hard time.
I stop. I'm not going if David Hyde Pierce doesn't go. How about that? If David Hyde Pierce, I feel like David Hyde Pierce is not going to be on season 3 either. It would be funny if Kelsey Grammer died. They replaced him with David Hyde Pierce. It was just gay as shit. Like, just so gay. It'd be great. Patricia Heaton. No, because he'd win the lawsuit. He'd go to the Supreme Court. And yeah, never mind. Sorry, folks. Okay, so back to this great show about wonderful values. So she gets introduced to Peter Scolari, who babbles a little. And the whole time, Carrie is not impressed with how the boys are acting around Vendela or Greta Gerwig there. So we then cut to, do we go back to her and Noreen talking about how they're, no, that's after the first shoot day, I think. So
is it? I don't remember.
And she's complaining about how they're fawning over her and she's not getting to do anything at work. And
she got left behind.
Yeah, I thought that happened after she tried going to basically be the production manager on the fucking shoot, which guess what? You would really need like a lot, except not after we see what this shoot actually is for.
Who's running the camera? I forgot about that. Anyway, keep going.
Vic is the director.
Well, he's the director, but is he actually filming?
I don't think they have a camera. I'm not sure that they have a camera.
I don't remember.
So the next day, everybody's getting ready to go to the shoot. Vic's got on a cap, and he says, "This is what all directors have. They wear caps because Steven Spielberg made that a thing, and Spike Lee wore caps, and it was the '90s, and you wore a cap if you were a director, and you worked with sexual predators and or were one yourself." So it's just a great time, great people to emulate. And then Vic makes a joke, or Vic comments that he doesn't understand what directors are doing when they're putting their hands up to frame a shot. Which is somewhat concerning because it's fairly obvious, and B,
how is he going to direct if he doesn't know?
Well, we find out why that doesn't matter. So, okay. So then we go to, so then Carrie's there. She's also got on a cap. Vic does not comment on her cap. She's got a clipboard, and she's like, all right, I'm ready to go. And Warren's like, you need to stay here. And she's like, what? But I want to go. And he's like, you don't have anything to do there. Everybody's got something to do there. And she's just like, well, I sort of put this together. I'd really like to see how it works out. And he's like, let me put this another way because so there was a great line on What We Do in the Shadows a couple weeks ago along the lines of, so Matt Berry's having a fight with his wife, and Emily's face right now, everybody, she does not give a shit about What We Do in the Shadows anecdotes. It's so nice. It's so nice. What's the name of the Thought Spiral co-host? I feel like this is how he feels a lot. Okay. So the joke is, he says she gets mad at him for saying something. He's like, okay, well, tell me how to say something with the exact same sentiment that won't make you upset. So Warren's take on that is to say, okay, how about this? I'm the boss. You're my employee. I'm telling you to stay here. Why don't you just stay here and let's stop talking about it? Bye-bye. So that's how that scene ends. And again, This is very should have been in the second episode. We should have had a come to Jesus between Warren and Carrie, where they agree that they're going to run. She's going to handle the personal stuff. He's going to handle the programming stuff or whatever. Again, on a better show, this could have kicked something off. It does kick something off, but it kicks off Carrie complaining that the boys aren't objectifying her enough anymore. Okay, though, folks, they promise they'll continue to objectify her, but maybe not as much when Vendel is around. And she says, okay, that's fake feminism. That's like white feminism. Sorry, what was that? Emily edits the show. I have no idea what's in here. No idea. Except for when I overheard that thing about how much I like. God, who's the actor you were saying I liked so much and even you couldn't make the bit go? I don't know. It was a couple episodes ago.
I don't remember.
Mr. Emily comments at onesiespod.feet. Okay. So we go to the set then where Todd got to see Vendela naked, and he's super excited about his life. And this is the first episode I ever wish somebody would just come in from off screen and beat Todd to death with a hammer. But
yeah, he was pretty obnoxious.
He's a pig. Just we've already discussed how these are not safe men. It's probably good. Well, no, we do find out that they all go out to dinner off screen, but I'm not sure anybody should have been drinking their drinks around these guys. So they're all on the set. We're finding out what they're shooting.
And it's just random fighting scenes. She's running around, jumping around. Now, this isn't. I'm not sure how this works. Again, I don't know how modern video gaming works, except isn't it usually somebody in a suit with a bunch of dots all over them, and they're doing some kind of that thing?
Capture.
Motion capture.
Motion cap. This is
They're just filming her.
Yeah, this is just very generic. So they're filming her on a green screen. They were going to do it on a blue screen, but her eyes are just so blue that, oh, Tobolowsky gets that line, and you're just like,
Yeah.
Steven, you're better than this, sir. You're better than this. Um, but yeah, no, this is just so there were some video games that did this during this era. Like Mark
Okay.
Hamill was in a couple Wing Commander games where he was basically just in the cutscenes, and they've replaced that with CGI now because um the transition, I don't know why they changed it, but just the live action mixing with the video game thing that was seems to have been a flash in the pan, and it has
Yeah.
not sustainably come back for anything. um okay, so like it was cool, but then it wasn't good. It was just cool they could do it, but then it didn't actually turn out to be good. um but yeah, and then we don't really get a lot of bickering yet, but we do get her starting to get upset at them and how stupid this is. Do we get the lobster suit now, or do we get that when Carrie's there?
I think it's just before Carrie comes in.
Okay.
So it's the
So
next day.
it's the no, it's even later because
Noreen comes with her.
Noreen comes with, but there's the establishing that Carrie's upset that they all went out. So this scene ends with them getting, riled because Vendela doesn't want to do exactly what they say because it's stupid. Um, don't think we start to get Scolari being a dick again. I think that's for the next scene. But
Yeah.
but we're starting to get there. And so they're like, okay, Vendela, let's go out to dinner. And she's just like, I'm not fucking going out to dinner with you guys. Are you nuts? And they're just all like, oh, we thought we were all taking you out to dinner tonight. Um, and then we cut to Carrie and Noreen, and we're a couple days later shooting. There's one day left of shooting. They have been out to dinner, and they all ignored Carrie because Vendela's there, and Noreen's like, well, we need to kill her because she's competition for their attention, even though we don't want it.
Even
Women
though
are
we don't like them.
terrible.
We don't
Yeah.
like them. They're socially inept. They're
And
nerds. They don't have anything in common with the real world, but I still want them to objectify.
yes, obviously. Obviously. Hashtag white feminism. Must be so much fun to edit this. Okay. So I mean, that's basically just what that scene is. And Noreen's like, this is where Noreen's like, I'll storm into Warren's office and say, I'm going on
Yeah.
set and bring me
Yeah.
Noreen. So then we cut to filming, and
So the day before we left, or the scene
whatever, the
before,
previous shoot. Yeah.
we left. They're just Vic is describing to her that she's fighting a 9 foot tall monster with 6 eyes and 4 arms. And she immediately is like, ugh, what's my eye line? And starts like speaking maybe more legitimate film speak. And she becomes more and more irate, like, I'm used to doing this with professionals. And she gets really kind of mean. She's kind of nasty. But the men don't seem to care. In fact, Vic probably loves it, right? He gets his ball stepped on by 6 inch heels, right? Um, and uh, so in this scene, we start with, oh, don't worry, we've got the perfect monster for you.
Yes.
And it's Stephen Tobolowsky in a lobster costume being hilarious and adorable for like
He,
continuously for like 45 seconds. He's just
yes.
like dancing around weird. And even when he's not the focal point, like that's not the joke, he's still kind of in the back pulling
Yeah.
focus. Like he is so good.
Yeah.
God damn it. He is so good.
But then Carrie and Noreen get there, and Vendela says something shitty to Morley.
To
Or
Todd.
maybe Todd. Todd gets
It
her the
was
wrong
Todd.
kind of water. And
Yeah.
Carrie's like, you can't talk to Todd that way. And Vendela's like, what? And so then Carrie says, he's trying to do his job. They're all just trying to do their jobs. You should be nicer to them. And they all then turn to Carrie and say, "Shut the fuck up, Carrie. Vendel is here. Get out of
Pretty
here."
much.
And
I
Peter
mean, I
Scolari
mean,
is like, "I'm your boss.
you're
Get out of here.
you're
Why would you talk
exaggerating.
to her like that?"
You're exaggerating, but not by much. Not
And
by
you'll note,
much.
folks, Emily always points out when I'm exaggerating on this show. So anything else I said has been accurate. You're not going to
I
watch
don't.
Dweebs. You'll never know. Okay. So,
I don't point out whenever you're exaggerating.
okay.
Um,
So,
so she like is. I mean, there's not quite like a sad like womp womp like sad music like cue, but it almost feels like there should be.
I
It
mean,
was
yes, there,
it was so weird.
it was very weird. And then, yeah, she and Norman leave, and the boys go back to filming with Vendela, and Vendela being shitty to them. We then get to the office the next day where Carrie is being nonverbal with the boys. And this is where Scolari notices it from his office for the first time he's ever paid
Yeah,
attention to anything going on in the greater
that
world.
yeah. There's a great scene of him in behind his glass, just like seeing the hell, like background acting the hell out of the scene. It was almost funny, almost.
Almost. Rick Moranis would have made it gold. So, hashtag the Peter Scolari story. Rick Moranis would have made it gold.
Oh,
It's true.
oh, I do love Rick Moranis.
Okay. So, yeah. And then they come out, and Carrie says, I mean, basically, Carrie says, "I feel like you all don't have sexual fantasies about me anymore, and that really hurts my feelings because I'm your female coworker, and that's what I'm here for."
And we've been
And
through a lot together.
yes, and they say, "Wait a second, are you jealous?" To which they all give each other high fives and say, "Ha, ha, we've never made somebody like you jealous before. We're going to go vote for Donald Trump and
The
lie to
end.
all of
Oh
our
no,
female relatives."
there's another scene at the end. Yeah,
Is there another scene at the end?
yeah. They're trying out their video game. They're
Oh God,
all
that's
gathered
right. Six
around
weeks
Morley's
later. Yes.
computer, and it's become clear that uh, becomes clear that it's Carrie that's playing the video game, and she loses.
The
And they say, "Oh, you killed Greta again for like the sixth time." And she says, "I know, I'm just not doing very good with this laser shooter. Do you have a larger laser shooter, bazooka, something?" I don't know what she says. And she has like a shit eating grin on her face because she's getting her revenge by killing a video game version of her.
Yep.
Cool.
And the video game it looks very much like that last video game they said was the sequel to the most popular video game of all time, where it's a gun in the center of the screen shooting at objects that are, was it perpendicular, whatever, parallel, not parallel, but like they're,
Parallel?
yeah, no, that's parallel.
Parallel?
No,
Yeah.
no. Mhm, mhm. And they're like
What?
that.
Oh, gotcha.
Something.
Okay. Like
But
Duck
it looks
Hunt?
like, yeah, it's basically
I
we're a
love Duck
little
Hunt.
bit below Duck Hunt. Graphics are terrible. It's idiotic. She's basically an avatar in a left to right action game, like with very few
Oh,
things
where
going
it's,
on.
yeah,
Yeah,
I know what
it's
you're
a
talking about.
side scroller. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's the end of the episode and the end of the show and the end of Dweebs in our life.
Yay! We did it! Our 14th season of onesies. And what
Mhm.
do we have on tap for the 15th season, Andrew? Is it
Well,
something just as good as Dweebs?
it's not it's not just as good as Dweebs. I thought you might enjoy a 19-year-old David Tennant,
Oh, baby David.
baby David. So we will be doing 1990s, I think, something like that. Water Rats.
I'm
A
so excited.
BBC, I don't think this was BBC Scotland. Maybe it was. But according to Wikipedia, it was not popular on its initial airing, but then it was incredibly popular on its repeat airing. And they made merch and they greenlit a second season. And then by the time they got around to it, it wasn't popular anymore. And so they didn't make the second season. And that sort of is how media worked back then, but it also sort of not. But we do have a Weekend at Bernie's too, so anything is possible. But there's an amazing clip of the Weekend at Bernie's panel at some Comic-Con or whatever you would call it now, where Andrew McCarthy looks miserable. And at one point he does, like, some lady's like, I think Weekend at Bernie's the funniest movie ever made. He's just like, oh, down. All right. You've gone too far. Too far.
That's hilarious.
But he just looks miserable the whole time. It's so funny. He can't even be nice. Anyway, so Water Rats. It'll be a nice time. And then Emily can find... Well, they did make another show after this. Not Scolari, but Tobolowsky, Farrah Fork, and creator Peter Noah did... What was it? You knew who this comic was.
Tom Rhodes, Mr. Rhodes.
Mr. Rhodes. Sadly, as far as we can tell, that's not available for us in enough of its entirety. If any of our listeners out there have access to the UCLA television and film archives, maybe email Mr. Emily at onesiespod.feet, and we would be interested in that. But otherwise, I'm sure Emily will find us something from ABC.
Oh, gosh. Maybe.
But
hopefully.
Not for a while.
Maybe Fox. Maybe I'll find something that was on Fox in the 90s.
I mean, it was
we haven't done any of that edgy shit in a while. Okay. Well, I'm very much looking forward to Water Rats. So thank you all for listening to us complain about dweebs and to Andrew meltdown about politics.
I'm sorry, not all of us on this podcast are as happy as you are about the world right now, Emily.
I'm thrilled, which is why I'm going to take a nap. Thank you, Andrew, for watching this terrible show with me. And I look forward to next time when we talk about Water Rats. See you in Television Land.
See you in Television Land.